Hello world, hello. Welcome back once again to this very new segment that we have live on Tuesday nights called Moments With. And this is a baby of the UnChristian podcast. So welcome. Thank you for being here and giving us your time. I like to say wherever you are listening and watching from, you could be in your kitchen cooking, you could be driving, you could be playing, and while you are showering, you're listening to this. Thank you so much for giving us your time and giving us space in your home and in your space. My name is Mmuso Church. I'm the host of the UnChristian podcast and Moments With, and thank you so much for always giving us your support. Subscribe, please, if you have not. Subscribe to all our channels wherever you are listening and watching from. Please leave us a review and a comment and share with other people. We really appreciate your support. Today, I've got a very special guest, someone I've been really dying to sit with and have a conversation. One of the most dynamic and really intelligent pastors that I know. I hold him in high regard, young as he is, and I really respect this man of God that we are going to be having a conversation with. Ladies and gentlemen, from Mmuso Church in Pretoria, please welcome Pastor Koketso Molaolwe.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the compliment that I'm young.
Of course you are, bro.
I'll take that.
If anyone told you otherwise, we cancel it.
No, man, thank you for having me. I've been feeling left out. You know, everyone that I know has been on this podcast, and here
Sir.
but finally I made it.
Thank you so much for your time, man. I know how busy you are. So it really, I really appreciate you even just being so generous with your time.
I think we just say that sometimes just for the sake of, I'm busy. With what?
True, true.
Yeah, so,
But what we do want to unveil as we were talking off camera, we do want to show and let people know how busy the work of the ministry is. They don't understand or believe it. Because they've not seen it. The concept of ministry is different for different people. But we're gonna get into a lot of those.
Sure.
How's the family? How's the baby
Family
girl?
is good, man. Baby girl is good. She's turning 4 in 6 months. I can't believe it. It was just yesterday when she was just a little one in my hands, and but now she's turning 4. We're enjoying her. She's stretching us. She's stretching us. But hey, you know what? I think there's two things that really grow you as a person: is being a spouse and being a parent.
To teach you humility and patience.
Listen, man, it grows you in incredible ways. Obviously, before I get counseled, there are other avenues that grow you as well. But I think there's a unique kind of stretching and growth that happens when you become a spouse and when you become a parent.
How long have you been married?
7 years, 29th September. So 29th September, we'll be celebrating our 7th year.
Congratulations, man.
I'm like, 7 years, so quick.
Keep it going, man. You gotta keep it going. Soon you're gonna be like 15 years, 20 years. Time flies.
So man, we I think in recent, maybe the past 2 years, that's when I can say we really enjoy our marriage.
Come on, really?
Hey,
you are bursting a bubble of someone right now. Like, what?
Yeah, no. The first 5 were, it was we're fighting principalities. My brother, let me tell you, it was.
No way, really.
Yeah, no, it was challenging, man. I think we were still young, naive, self-serving, self-seeking, wanting your own ways. I think the thing about marriage is that it kills you in a good way. And if you're not willing to die, then the marriage will die. If you are not willing to die, it will die. The marriage will die. So I think we were not willing to die. In those first 5 years, everyone wanted their own ways and wanted. And I think with a bit of maturity comes that sense of saying, in fact, this thing came so that I can die, so that a better version of me can arise. But you hold on to that younger version as if it's the best version of you. Not knowing that, no, it's just a familiar version of you. It's what you are used to. It's not the best. And when you start dying in marriage, you realize that, wow, in fact, there's a better version of me that I was just not exposed to. So, So the past 2 years have been good.
What do you think kept you guys going through tough times?
I think commitment. just the commitment to God.
Come on.
I think when our commitment to each other was
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
our commitment to God kept us going.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? If it were me, I don't want to be here or whatever the situation may be. But you're like, but I made a commitment to God. You know, that I'll love this woman, I'll honor her, I'll respect her, and I'll keep till death do us part. And then you don't just stay in that state. You're like, okay, fine. Now that I've committed for life, how do I make this an enjoyable experience? So it doesn't become this enduring experience where you are like, you know what, I made a commitment to God, so let me just do it. No, you're like, you know what, I made a commitment to God, that is the basis of it. But now how do I make sure that this is a loving, fruitful, life-giving marriage? Then we
also pleasurable, just enjoyable.
Yeah, man, just enjoyable.
Marriage is meant to be enjoyed, not endured.
Not endured, yeah. So I think it was our commitment to God. If we were not Christian, if we didn't have that commitment to God, I don't know. I think we would have just thrown in the towel. Sure. But that just saying, you know what, we made a commitment to God. We made a commitment to each other.
Yeah, man.
You know, and when there's the statement, for better, for worse. I think we underestimate the depth of that statement. Like, for better and for worse.
Both.
And when the worst come, we're like, nah, I'm out of here. So I think it was that where I had to say to my wife, there are times where we sit down and say, this is the worst.
Worst ever.
Yeah, we're like, this is the worst. But this is what we committed to.
My goodness.
This is the worst, but this is what we committed to. I've seen the worst of you. You've seen the worst of me. Yeah. But this is what we committed to. Can we still love each other, commit to each other in spite of this?
Oh, my goodness.
So yeah, man, those are some things that have kept us going. Awesome. And not doing things because you feel like it. Doing things because they are the right things to do.
Yeah.
It's not every time in marriage you want to buy your wife flowers.
You don't always wake up in love.
No, you don't always wake up in love. It's not every time you want to cook dinner. It's not every time you feel like doing these things. But because you understand that they fill up your spouse's tank, you do them. And as you see them blossom, it brings energy into your marriage.
So important.
So I think it's we rely heavily on our emotions. And I think emotions are not good for direction. They are good for expression. They're just there for us to express the direction that we've taken, out of conviction and values. We don't act out of emotions. Emotions should just express the values and the principles that we espouse. So yeah, that's been
awesome, man.
Our journey of marriage.
Yeah. Now there was ministry jumping in there as well. You founded a church. We'll talk specifically about that. How did you guys now deal with the extra added pressure and difficulty and demands of a new ministry? That is different. I can imagine that to a certain degree it was a lonely journey. Because you're building something different in Mmuso.
And I think it's part of the things that almost broke up marriage. Ministry. In the sense that I was sensing this call, and when you feel the call of God and you want to plant the church, then you feel unstoppable. You feel like, I want to do this, You
can take the world.
I can take the world. And my wife was just not there yet. And the key word is yet. Because I heard God first. And I think the test of that is having to wait for your spouse. When you have this burning desire. And sometimes as pastors, when we're called, we leave our wives behind.
We grow
alone. And then you wonder why she's not engaged at church. But you forced her into these things. You're supposed to be your partner. You're supposed to wait for her. There's a mentor of mine who says, just after he got married, he went hiking with his wife. And then he was far ahead because the wife was still coming behind. And then he looked back and says, hey, come. And then the wife then says to him, unless we are both there, we are not there. It's when you are there alone, we're not there, unless we're both there. So it was struggle because also I was still young and passionate and da da da. And there are times where I didn't want to wait for her. There are times where I felt like she was wasting my time. But in the waiting, I realized that there are some things that if I had moved, I would have hurt myself, I would have hurt people, I would have hurt my family. So I think it's in God's, intelligence that he brought us together, knowing that you are a runner, you just want to run, but sometimes you're not cautious.
Sure.
Sometimes you are just, because of the excitement and everything, you just want to go ahead.
Just go.
Now I want to bring someone who would just kind of say, slow down a bit, have a bit, look around. Look around and see, are we seeing everything? Are we seeing the pitfalls and everything? So I am glad for those tense moments because they just helped me to see certain things that otherwise, if my wife was not there, I would not have seen. And here's the thing, when you plant a church, people are excited. People around you, they're excited. They seldom can tell you when you are not going about the right way because you are the leader.
Of course.
Now, they clap hands to everything you say.
Yes.
And now your wife can feel like the enemy of progress because
like,
everyone else is clapping. She's not.
She's not easily impressed.
She's
like
not
everybody.
easily impressed. But I believe she's there to ensure that you don't hit those potholes. You don't. She's like a blind spot.
Yes.
Yeah, she's checking. She's checking the side.
Yeah.
She's not there as your cheerleader. She's there as your partner.
Yes.
So it was a challenging time for us. But I believe Mmuso Church is what it is because of that season.
That's good.
Where we were wrestling. I think as we were wrestling, we were defining what this thing would look like.
Awesome.
In that wrestle.
And each other's roles.
And each other's roles. What roles are we going to play? Who are we going to become? And here's the thing. I'm an A-type kind of leader. I have a strong personality. And with A-type kind of leaders, you are prone to be the man of the moment.
Right.
You are prone to be, people gather around you easily.
Star of the show.
You're prone to be the star of the show. And I think in those conversations with my wife, it helped me just to not be the star of the show.
Right.
Now, when you're not the star of the show, you make people around you stars. And I think today we have a strong team because I'm not the star of the show.
Awesome.
I think the biggest asset we have at Musa Church is our team.
Yes.
And when you're not the star of the moment, people take ownership.
Yes.
And I think it's in that.
Because this thing is theirs as
theirs.
well.
So it was in that wrestle with my wife that it killed that stardom in me and that want to be that hero that want to take over kind of guy. And I'm so grateful for those times.
That's good.
At that moment, I was like, devil, why have you entered my wife?
When you look back to when you started ministry, and I will ask about both marriage and ministry.
Yes.
What did you not know then that you know now?
Yeah.
Well, just one or two things concerning ministry and marriage.
Yeah. I think ministry, I think I did not, what would I say I did not know? I think the permanence of it. Yeah, man. I used to do a lot of events, I'm like, this thing it's people's eternity. Yeah, it's not a nice service on Sunday. It's not just a show. It's not just an event. This is people's eternity. That's number one.
Goodness.
But number two, it's people's lives. Sure. When they are crying, they call you. When they are happy, they call you. When their marriage on the rocks, they call you. You officiate their weddings. You bury them. It's a long-term thing. It's a long-term commitment. It's an everyday 24/7 kind of a commitment. You carry people in your spirit. You carry people in your soul.
Absolutely.
It's not when someone just shares with you their issue. You can't just brush it off. You can't just give them advice and brush it off.
It's gone,
It's so permanent because I was in ministry before. I was serving in another church for about 13 years. But I was serving in different roles, in kids' church, and I was a decent preacher. And I was a decent leader.
Sure.
And I think those two where the main reasons I was like, no, I can actually plant a church because I'm a decent preacher and I'm a good leader, you know, and there's a call of God upon my life.
Right.
I think the pastoring of the people was the one thing I didn't think about. I didn't think about
shepherding
that.
is another
The
scenario.
shepherding of people is
That's
something
heavy.
else, man. Yeah, it's something else.
The issues you carry.
The issues you carry. You know, just having to sit with a family through losing a child.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
When there's no sermon that will be enough, there's no advice that will be enough, there's nothing that you can do, but you need to sit there with them through that pain.
Sure. One thing, as a pastor in the Free State, pastoring a church, one thing that changed my life is being called to a certain house where one of their daughters had come back from school in the afternoon, and she just took a nap on the couch. And she was like, wait, 20 years old or something. And the other siblings were there playing around, watching TV. And that girl never woke up.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm getting called to say, Pastor, our daughter's on the couch and not waking up. You get there.
What do you do?
What do you do? I had never engaged a corpse.
Yeah.
I've prayed for sick people, but when it's dead, it was life-changing. It brought me to the end of myself where I knew there's no sermon, there's no scripture, there's no prayer that's going to make this better. Crazy stuff.
You need to sit through the pain with them. Yeah, you just
those
need to
moments are just
sit.
life-changing.
It changes you, man. And at the time, the family is looking to you to say something.
And you are
that
also
will
shocked.
Make it. There was a family that lost their. I'm laughing and it's not funny. They lost their brother in church, and they call me. They're like, "Mfundisi, brother just passed on." Da, da, da. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Then I pray with them on the call. No, I'll come later and just come see you and everything. I'm like, no, God bless you. And then I leave it. And then this lady says, so what do you do, Mfundisi? I'm like, wow, I'm the Mfundisi. I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot. I forgot. I thought, in my head, they're going to call me on Saturday. I'll come there. I'll do a prayer. Maybe I'll do a sermon. But in that moment, it hit me.
Everything now is on your
leadership. You need to kind of provide leadership here.
Yes.
I was like, Bible school did not prepare me for that. It did not prepare me for this. So I had to do that in my first funeral.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm talking about, the permanence of it. It's life altering.
Right, it is.
And I think that's the when we get excited, and unfortunately when we get excited about church planting, we look at people that have done it.
Yeah.
But what we're looking at the stage. We're looking at the building. We're looking at the prestige. We're looking at the the financial reward. We're looking at all those things and
stuff that took years to arrive.
That took years to build, But we don't sit with them and just say, hey man, how is the counseling of the people going? How does it feel when people leave?
You know my problem though with seasoned pastors. You ask themselves questions, but just say, it's the grace of God. It's one of the reasons why I'm actually running this series of a church and the city. I'm like trying to get to the heart of the pastor. Okay, I understand it's the anointing. I understand it's the grace of God. Really, but come on, give me something.
give me more meat.
What can I do?
Yeah, and in some instances, people. One of the questions I get a lot. By God's grace, our church has just grown. A bit quicker than what we had anticipated.
There are things you can't explain.
Yeah, there are things where you look at it, you're like, you know what? I don't know. And people are like, man, hold seminars, have seminars and teach us. I'm like, I would love to. But I feel like, man, most of what has happened here, it was really, really just the grace of God. So I think the first thing would be that, man, the pastoring is what shocked me.
I get you.
Just what it actually entails. When you have, this past weekend, I had 3 people in the church who lost their loved ones. And now you need to decide, where do you go? Where don't you go?
And there's no right answer.
And there's no right, wherever you go, you have wronged another person. Yes, people will say, no, you must raise leaders in the church who will go. Yes, you do, and I have. And I had to send this one there, send this one there. But the guilt is still there.
And people still want Murutu
Still
Abon.
want, yes, they still want Murutu Abona. You know, they're like, yeah, we see brother so and so, but pastor was not here. He was there.
Yeah.
Is it because that family has money? Is it because they drive this car? Is it because they do this? And now you get the politics. And you also just feel bad. Apart from the politics, you just feel bad that you were not there for these people that you care about. But you can't divide yourself. No. Listen, man, I'll tell you.
And marriage?
The shocking thing about marriage, hey, man, I can write a book. No, I can't. I won't write a book. I think it's just the constant dying to yourself.
Right.
I think I understand why the Bible compares marriage to Christ and the church. Because if it says if you want to be my follower, you need to die to yourselves. If anyone wants to follow me, they need to carry out the cross and die to themselves. And I think it's how much of me had to die for my marriage to blossom.
Sure.
And I don't regret the parts that died because they reintroduced better. Is that scripture that says a seed to multiply needs to fall to the ground and die first, unless it dies. And I think it's the same. There's a lot of marriages that can be saved if people just willing to die to themselves, die in service to your partner, die in loving to your partner, die in to the sense of self-importance, the sense of wanting it my way, wanting things to always happen how I want it. Apologizing requires dying. Forgiving requires dying. It just requires just that sense of dying to self and just allowing love to kind of lead the way, just the value of that you place on another person. So I think I just underestimated how much of the dying I have to do, to a point where even when you go to counseling, you go there with your points set, thinking, I'm going to tell them this and this and this. And no one goes into a counseling session thinking I'm wrong. We go there and you're hoping that the counselor will see it from your point. You're like, I want you to tell her.
Sort her out.
Yeah, sort her out. And this and this and this and this. And then they hit you with one question.
Over.
And it destroys all your PowerPoint presentation. So I think I just underestimated the amount of dying that it comes with. But also I misunderstood the beauty when you have died. And this marriage now begins to blossom.
It's beautiful, man.
And you're like, wow.
Beautiful stuff.
I didn't know I can actually have this. There are marriages that are on the brink of collapse just because people don't want to die. And I'm like, guys, if you're watching this, sometimes just die to yourself. And you will experience a new wife. You will experience a new husband. Just if you're willing to be able to say, I'm sorry.
The solution is in sorting yourself out.
Sorting yourself out. Be able to say, I was wrong. The ability to say, I didn't understand. The ability, I didn't hear you. Am I understanding what you say? What do you need? How can I serve you? How can I make your life better? I mean, there's a statement that goes, I cannot make you happy. When you say we come into marriage, I cannot make you happy. And I'm like, to a certain extent, I agree. But man, there is something of intentionally wanting to make your partner's life better.
Just easier.
Just easier. Yeah, it's not your responsibility to make them happy. But there's something about just waking up and say, how can I make my partner's life better, easier, and more fulfilling?
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. The first time we were supposed to shoot together.
Yes.
When we had to postpone, on that day, you had lost your mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's grief been for you and the healing process?
Yeah. So it introduced my wife, my daughter, and the church and my friends to a Koketso they have never met.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They are still trying to kind of like, I met with a best friend of mine 2 weeks after my grandmother had passed. And I could see, he's a cheerful guy. He's trying to be cheerful. He's trying to do it. And I'm trying to engage, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
And in that moment, he realized that this guy is no longer yes, he's still the same person, but he's not the same person.
Right.
Grief changes you. There's something in your life that just kind of like, you know, it's the one author says like getting an amputation. It does not go away. You just learn to live with it. Especially because my grandmother was, my dad was never in my life, and my mom was never in my life.
That's why I called her your mother.
Yes,
because
you know, she raised me.
Yeah.
So the reality of that, I think this past week, I mean, it's been 2 months since he passed on. This past week, only now I feel like I'm breathing just a little bit better. It's just been, it just took me out, man. I was just demotivated, demoralized. Anxiety, I've never had anxiety in my life, but the past 2 months, the level of anxiety I've been dealing with, like just small. And now my wife would say something small that I would normally just overlook, but now it
gets triggered a bit.
Yeah, I get triggered. I get easily irritated. Sure. My daughter would irritate me. You know, Daddy, can you just, you know? And in that moment, you don't want to be anyone's husband, anyone's dad, anyone's pastor. You just want to be the little boy who's grieving the loss of your mom. But the world demands from you.
The world doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. You know, the world doesn't stop.
It's feel still like there can be a pause button somewhere.
Yeah, you just want to say, can I just pause this? The beautiful thing is my wife afforded me that.
Awesome.
Yeah, my wife afforded me the space. She actually recently took her and my daughter and went away for a week and just say, hey man, just be by yourself and just kind of like collect yourself.
Shout out to her. Shout out to her.
And if you want, I'll come back. But you just give me a call if you need me to come back. I'll come back. But let me give you the space. And I spent that, and it was good for me. It was good for me. What did I do that week? Nothing. I woke up, ate, watched Netflix, sleep, eat, watch Netflix,
repeat.
Sleep. And you repeat. And you will be amazed on how much it does for you.
Awesome.
You know, that just a time. And then in the midst of that, I start praying. And I realized that, sure, I'd missed God.
Wow.
Because sometimes as a pastor, you're constantly praying for people.
That's right.
Praying for things.
That's right.
Praying for the service. Reading the word as a sermon preparation and everything. And like, when was the last time I read the word for devotion and not for sermon preparation? You know, when last did I pray for myself this way, where I'm just taking out time and just praying, not praying for breakthrough for just where I'm coming to God and say, God, I'm not well.
Yeah.
And I think it just brought me to that place where I just kind of like revived that intimacy with God in that moment of brokenness.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
No, man, I'm happy for that journey. I'm sure there are also other things you are learning about yourself. Just like you said, other people are learning about you.
A lot.
You are also now discovering, there's this side of me. Yeah. And, it's good. It's good to take care of our mental health as leaders and as pastors.
Yeah.
Mmuso Church is different. I visited your church once, but even just watching from a distance before I could visit, I could sense something very different. And I've always was looking forward to talk to you and say, man, what is this thing that's so different about Musa? And I don't have a name for it. But maybe you do. So you're going to tell us. What did God say about Musa Church and how did it all start?
So I'm reading a book now by Craig Groeschel.
Yeah, I saw that.
Lead Like It Matters. And he talks about church that has it.
Right.
You know? And when I bought this book, I was looking forward to answering that question. Yes. What is this it? You know, that church has.
That thing.
That thing. You know, because it speaks about that thing.
Yeah.
And when I read the book, there's no definition of the it. Yeah, you can't coin it. It's just there. When it's there, you can tell it's there. When it's not there, you can tell it's not there. You know. And I think for the life of me, Musa Church has it. You know. And it's a combination of a lot of things.
Of course.
a majority of it being the hearts of the people there. The hearts of the people there, man, it's just incredible. The community, the sense of community,
Awesome.
the sense of pioneering. You know, it's part of our DNA. We want to pioneer.
Come on.
So when God spoke to me about planting the church, spoke to me through Matthew 16, and I was in Dubai, and you know, sometimes when you say I was in Dubai, like come on now. I was in Dubai attending a conference there. It was about 80 leaders in the room, and God had been speaking to me about planting a church, but okay. So maybe just a quick step back.
Sure.
I was part of this church for 13 years. It was predominantly a white church,
Okay.
And I give credit. My leadership style and how I do things, I learned in that church. Man, if I had not been serving in that church for those 13 years, I don't think I would have gained the experience that I
the
have
same testimony
right now. You know, and I think every time I speak to younger church planters, I say to them, man, your early 20 years, use them serving in another church. It helps you immensely.
Absolutely.
This is what it gives you. You make mistakes and someone else pays for them.
Yes.
You know, you make mistakes on someone else's bill.
Yes.
And you are learning and you're gaining the experience and someone else is covering you.
Sure.
Because in that church, there's nothing I did not do. I designed posters. I went to Sunday school. I was in schools. I was in the band. I did almost everything. Now, I know everything that happens at Musa Church. I have a pictorial view of everything. There's no space you can speak to me about that I don't understand. Why? Because in the 13 years, I did it. But then it was a predominantly white church. I started taking issue with the fact that I had a holy discontentment that the churches I like in South Africa, most of them are not black-led.
Yes.
Yeah, so I started taking issue with that to say, you know, most of the churches I like, they are not black-led.
Right.
You know, only a handful of the churches I like and the people who are like me they are white-led.
Yes.
You know, your urban progressive churches, they are white-led, multiracial churches, and the predominant part of them are white-led. I got an issue with that. That's number one. And I was in a church that was like that. And I was a leader there. And I was like, I'm contributing also to the stats, you know, because normally how these churches are set up is that it's predominantly white-led, and then there's a black, 2-3 black leaders as part of the leadership. And then that becomes the definition of multiracial. And I'm like, I'm okay with this, but I'm looking for a setup where it's the same, it's just that the senior leader is black.
That's right.
Where the team is multiracial, the church is multiracial, but the leader is black.
Yeah.
And I struggled to find it. I struggled to find it. So that was the second thing. And now also these churches that I like, they missed something for me. Not they missed something, I missed something in them. These churches were, you know, systematically very, very good. They were very excellent. They had systems. Man, when the church starts, it starts on time. It ends on time.
Yes.
Like everything is just meticulous. And I was like, I love this about this church.
Yes.
I always just felt we could go a little bit deeper spiritually.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I loved the structure, I loved everything, but I always felt like, hey, we could just go a tad bit deeper, just a little bit deeper. And then I would go to black-led churches, and I was like, the worship is spiritually, I would leave there fed, man. I would leave there, the preaching, the worship, I would leave there feeling, I'm like, this was church. But I was like, systematically, we could have just done a little bit better. You know, in terms of time, in terms of running the program, in terms of this, we could have done it a bit better. And I was like, these two worlds, can they come together?
Need to come together.
They need to come together. There needs to be a middle. And then I set myself up to join those who are already doing that.
Yes,
to say,
sir.
we need more of these churches that are coming together.
Sure.
And so that's kind of how you know,
I get you.
how we set ourselves.
Yeah.
So you always find when we go to Mmuso, you are very strict on our processes, very systematic. We have systems for everything, but we go in.
Yes.
Yeah, in our sermons,
your
in our
worship, prayer.
in our prayer, we go in. You know, so in fact, people always ask me, why do you only have 2 songs? Like, because I want the songs to breathe. You know, I don't want to pack too many songs in space.
Oh, is that so? So your prison worship does 2 songs?
Only on Sunday. We only do 2 songs on Sunday.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because we want the song to breathe. To go where it needs to go, you know, to create that space. So those are some things we had to put in place to ensure that the systems do not stifle the spirit.
We are used to the 5-song setup: 3 praise,
Yeah.
2 worship, and by worship we mean slow song. And then welcoming and announcement.
Do you understand? So we only have 2 songs.
Interesting.
And so
I missed that part because I came late.
So and I'm not saying it's the best. It's just
what you
it
want
works
to
for
do.
us.
Yeah,
it works for us. And so that was that. Then I went to Dubai. And I sat with this lady. She was late. She was coming from India.
Yeah.
I had to pick her up from the airport. And then I asked her, so why are you late? She's like, no, I was leading a camp in India. So I lead that camp and we finalized it yesterday. And I took a flight immediately. I'm like, oh, tell me more about this flight, about this camp. And he's like, no, I lead a group of about 1.4 million teenagers.
What?
I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
What are you saying?
1.4 million teens. Yeah, I mean, in the context of India, you understand because of the population. But still, she was 20-something and she was leading that organization. That just didn't sit well with me. I was like, and that's when, you know, something in me just started. Now, the kind of church, it was no longer now just that we are planting this church. It was like, what does this church look like? I started just feeling it needs to be expansive. It needs to just break boundaries. And then I met a guy in the same conference, also in his late 20s. I was speaking to him. He leads a home church in China. And I was like, oh, so how's things going? Oh, going well. So what do you do? He says, no, I lead home churches in China. It's about 20 people. So he says, 20 people. I was like, thank God. He's like, yeah, so I have 6,000 of them. Bro.
That changes the picture.
Yeah. I'm like, so you have 6,020 people.
And then you did the maths.
And now you have 6,000 leaders reporting to you because now every group has a leader. And I was like, and I think out of that, to a point where I was like, my wife went ahead because we were together at the conference. She went ahead a day before.
Yeah.
I needed to stay in Dubai for just 1 day more and just think. I was like, no, man, I need to think.
Yes.
Yeah, no. This is too crazy.
Wow.
And when I came home, the intention was always just to blow this thing up.
Yes.
You know, I was like, I really want to just plant a church that will just, you know, shake the city for the kingdom of God. You know, that would be expansive. And God gave us a word, Matthew 16:18. In the Message translation, it says, and I'll build my church. A church so expansive with energy that not even the gates of hell shall prevail against it. So that word expansive,
I haven't seen that, expansive.
Became, so in the Message translation, and that word expansive became a DNA word for us. So like everything we're going to do, it needs to be expansive in nature. So that's why then you see all the stuff that's happening at Musa Church. We'll build our culture around that.
You began during pandemic?
Yeah, so
that was brave, first of all. Wow, you didn't want to wait.
Yeah, but I just felt like now is the time.
Yeah.
You know, so we launched 1st of November 2020. And 6 weeks later, we went on to lockdown. Yeah.
How was that, man?
Sure. So we launched, and then after we launched, we planned a city event at Loftus Park. And on that day, that night, the president announced that the country is going on lockdown again. It was on 16th, I think, no, second Sunday of December. And then he announced that we are going on lockdown after that event. So 6 weeks after we launched, we already had an event with a few hundred people coming together. Because we wanted to say to the city, we're not building just a congregation. We are city focused. We want to impact the city.
Right.
So in our introduction, we just wanted to say to the city, this is what we are about. Yeah. We're about impacting the city. And then people say, what do we do? I'm like, we move online. Then we moved online. I had my phone, and I did some graphic designing, editing and stuff. So then I would preach every Sunday. So we would meet at my house. I would shoot, send the video to the editors, and they would edit, send it back to me, upload on Facebook and stuff, and then they would premiere. And then at the time we had already recorded some music, because we had already recorded some music, some videos. So we would play that as part of our worship, and then I would come in. So and at that time, the beauty of it was that everyone was online. Yeah, I think that was for us. It was a blessing because we didn't have a big congregation, but because we are online, everyone is online. The playing field was leveled. So then we started doing like that. Then I'm like, you know what, we need to raise money and get proper equipment. So we started raising money, speaking to some people, applying pressure here and there. Then we bought equipment. Then we started doing recording, like going live from my house. So on the lounge would be the stage. The worship team would sit there. The pianist would be sitting in the kitchen next to my fridge and my microwave. The drama would be on my daughter's bedroom, because it was a 2-bedroom apartment. So he'll be sitting there, and then I'll be playing bass just by the corridor. Oh my goodness. And the worship team, they go to the bathroom to fix themselves. They come back. And I remember one day I'm preaching. I'm in the middle of a sermon. The security comes, because it's a gated complex. Then he knocks. And then we're live. And I had to say to people, just hold on. Then the guys, they put what do they call it?
Thumbnail or something.
Yes. And then I go out, and they give me a fine, 1,000 rand fine for noise.
Like it.
I come back, I said, guys, sorry, I just got a fine. Put it down. Okay, let's continue. and yeah, so I think for us, pandemic was it wasn't good that people died and all that, but it worked in our favor in that sense. It accelerated our exposure. Yeah, because everyone was online.
Sure. One of the fascinating things about Mmuso Church is the fact that you've got so many gifted people, so many gifted people, and prominent people at that. I mean, in your worship team, you've got the likes of Once More Six. Bongi and Colin, Cairo, Takalani. I'm missing another name. And other people. You've got other ministers, speakers, MCs. You've got the likes of Nombulelo Chefu there. What is the key to leading gifted and prominent people? I don't want to use the word celebs. Gifted and prominent people, because you're going to have business people who are not really known, but there's something there, and that's something we have not mastered in the Black Church.
I think the first thing is not to see them as gifted people, but to see them as people.
Come on.
Who have come to church, seeking to find God and the community.
Come on.
The minute you see them as gifted people, you want to use them. You naturally want to use them
as an asset.
As an asset, because you see them as gifted people.
I see.
I don't see them as gifted people. I don't see once more as I celebrate the gift. But when I see him as a son.
Come on.
I see him as a husband. I see him as a father.
Come on.
I see him as a brother. I see him as a human being. And our conversation, we have conversations that have nothing to do with music.
Come on.
When I sit with him, music is the last thing we talk about. Ministry is the last thing we talk about. I ask him, he can attest. How's your wife? How are you and your wife? How's your sex life? How's your finances? The last meeting we had, we were talking finances. I was like, how are your finances? How are you managing your finances? Because if you see these gifted people as gifts, that's all you then want. That's all you then see. That's all you want to talk about. And they're used to that. And they're tired of that. They want. There are people in our church that are big worship. They can sing, and they've come that people don't know they are part of Musa Church. They come to church, they sit there on Sunday, and I don't bother them.
Yeah, yeah.
I have coffees with them, and one of them, I was sitting with him, and he says, you know, I was waiting for you to ask me to join the worship team. I was like, but I don't know why you came here.
Yeah.
I can't just assume that's what you want to do.
Wow.
I'm like, no, when you are ready,
You'll
you will let
something.
us know.
Yeah.
I said to my team, you see, with all these great people that I have, on Sunday, when they are not well, we'll play a video.
Oh.
We don't mind playing a video.
Wow.
We're not going to force them to serve just for whatever reason. No. Because their health, their well-being is more important than what they do in the church.
You're talking.
So Bongi and Colin, they are B and C there.
Yes.
They're not B and C at church.
Right.
They're not B and C to me.
Yeah.
To me, they're friends.
Wow.
They're friends that I do life with. They are people that I have dinner with, and we care, and we share life. And then we do ministry together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not the primary thing.
It's not the primary thing.
What can you do for me? What I can do for you?
That's
amazing.
That's why they can come to church even when they are not on stage.
Yes.
You're going to find them because they are part of the church.
Church life.
They are not there because they are there to render a service. No, that's not why they're there. They are there because they're looking for a spiritual home, a community where they can be loved, they can connect, and they can grow.
Yeah, because the Sunday I was there, the service was beautiful, everything was going well. At the end of the service, after talking to you, I walk out and, hey, once more six, you are here.
Yeah.
I thought you're not here because you're not on stage.
It's
like,
exactly.
no, bro. He was like, no, but here we rest.
Yeah.
He told here we rest.
Yeah, no, we have a schedule. They know once a month, and when you are resting, you're sitting there. They are not on stage every Sunday.
Yeah.
We have it as a principle.
Just like
you can't be on stage consecutive weeks. Would rather play video. Would literally rather play a video while once more is sitting there because we're not going to burn him out. It's important that he's healthy. Yeah.
What other leadership principles and standards and stuff drives your leadership vision and the way you do things with you and your wife? Like, what other things are really like priority from a leadership perspective?
Lead away from yourself, and it has been our from the beginning, where like we want to empower people to be leaders. We want the church to run whether we're there or not.
I see. Lead away from yourself.
Lead away from yourself. Lead away. People must need you less.
Sure.
The church must need you less because you are empowering people to do things. People must need you less in making decisions. Give people autonomy. Give leaders autonomy. So at church right now, so we have what we call celebration leader. I used to be the celebration leader. What does that mean? It means just leading the Sunday team, where from the sound, they're just putting everything together, making sure that Sunday runs. I'm no longer the celebration leader. There's someone who's a celebration leader, and they're running the whole thing. So they don't need me to be at church. So from the beginning, we led away from ourselves.
Sure.
We empowered leaders, and we've seen the level of ownership to a point where, for this, I come to church and I see a new camera. I was like, guys,
that camera?
And that camera, they're like, no, the media team decided to buy a new camera.
Wow.
Because they are not doing it for me.
It's theirs now.
It's theirs now. I did not give them an impression that they are here to serve me. Because if they are here to serve me, they have to wait for me to do things. Now I get to church, I'm like, okay, what's happening here? you know? And they caught my heart.
Wow.
Why? Because I lead away from myself, but I spend time with them.
Goodness me.
So I spend time with them so that they can get my heart. When they stand there, they don't just speak on my behalf. They speak as I would speak.
Yes.
You know?
It's amazing
and
stuff.
Because they speak as I would speak, I trust them with responsibility. Not just responsibility, I trust them with authority. Because I know that this person speaks as I would speak.
Right.
But you only get that from spending time. From really spending time with people. On a monthly basis, I'd bring my leaders at my house and would have dinner. And that meeting would just talking rubbish just the whole night and but in that they catch my heart. They catch my heart. Now when they make decisions, I'm not even bothered. I'm like, that decision was made as if it was me.
And there's trust.
There's trust. So when I look at it, I'm like, I would have made the same decision. This person gets it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think leading away from yourself is difficult because naturally we want to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
Naturally, we want to be the man of the moment. Naturally, we want to be celebrated. That's just naturally how most leaders, A-type leaders are.
Yeah, yeah.
But I had to constantly just say, it's not about you.
Yeah.
Push it to the people. Give credit to the team.
It's beautiful.
Always give credit to the team. When they come to me and say, Muruti, we have to do 1, 2, 3. What do you think? I'm like, what do you think? They're like, this is what I think. I'm like, okay, then do that.
Go for it.
You know, then go for it. So leading away from yourself and adopting a posture of a servant. I was there in the mornings. I was picking up the speakers and I'll you know. So I didn't say, do this. I showed them.
Yes.
Let's
This is
do
how
this.
it's done.
You know, this is how it's done. Let's do it together. And I think just that level of leading away from yourself, I think number 1, number 2, and just leading with humility.
Sure.
It just helped us. And then leading with clarity. People just want to know, where are we going?
Sure.
Yeah, like what are we doing here?
Sure.
What is the aim?
Sure.
When we say we've succeeded, what does that look like?
Sure.
And then leading with courage. Always have a goal that as a church you are chasing and it's stretching you.
Yeah.
People love to be stretched. People want a sense of achievement.
That's right.
You have no idea how when we were moving from our previous building into this one, and you hear people say, yeah, you know, when we, you know, in the language, when they start saying when we, then you're like, yeah, we used to do this, and you can see the sense of accomplishment. Now we're in the process of trying to buy a building, and you can hear in the language, they're not saying Funis is trying to buy a building. They say we. You know, because I'm involved in them, in the process, and just saying, hey guys, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to do. And you can, every time I sit with someone, it says, you know, when I'm like, yeah, I love the sound of that. It's we. It's very, very, but when you have led towards yourself, people say, when you Mfundis, we will help. So they are there to help you. But now, at Mmuso, there's no one who's there to help me. They are there living out their calling.
Come on.
So,
That's excellent. What do you think are the challenges? Well, not what you think, you definitely know. The challenges that you face pastoring in the city versus a peri-urban area or a rural area. Those unique differences. We spoke about the cost before.
It's expensive.
The rentals for building, for land, and all of that. What do people not know about the challenges that are unique to leading in an urban area?
I think it's the expense, number one. It's really expensive.
Ministry is expensive financially.
Man, and you must understand, there's not a lot of places that are zoned to have church, right? So there's office parks, there's not a lot of them. So that is just difficult on its own. Historically, also churches have not inspired confidence in terms of payment. So some of these agencies don't want anything to do with church because then 1 month you're not paying, and all those kind of things, which I think has changed quite a lot because churches are now systematic. They're very administrative. There's proper processes. So I think that the cost of it is just it's difficult.
I was telling someone from KZN who's a pastor that in the city you pay rental of around 60, 70, even 100,000 rand per month for rent. It was like, no way, you're wasting money. That is stupidity. That is foolish.
So what must you do?
It's just the way
it's the way it is.
You guys don't know this. This is just our norm in the city.
Because now someone would say if you pay 100,000 per month, you could possibly get a 10 million rands building. I'm like, but I don't have 10 million rands right now. So, and if I go to the bank, because I'm a church, they won't give me 10 million rands to buy a building.
And in a different area, like Okasi or
in
the rural areas, it's easy to get land.
It's easy to get land.
Cheap.
Yeah, it's cheaper.
Here, number one, you want land, it's going to be 5 million for a piece of land.
Just for,
number one.
You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything. And you still need to zone it and
If you find the land.
If you find the land. And now, it needs to be, people in the city love convenience.
Yes, it needs to be close to them.
They love it needs to be central. It needs to be, man, and you're competing with so many things.
Yeah.
You're competing on Saturday, Sunday morning when you're going to church. People are running marathons.
Yeah.
So then they have to choose between going to a
events as
marathon,
well.
the events. There's this. Then they're like, hey, before at 12 o'clock I have to be at the market, so you need to finish. If you're not finishing, then they'll go to another church that finishes on time.
Sure.
There's just we struggle between conviction and convenience.
Yeah.
You know, establishing the sense of conviction in people,
Yeah.
but there also just a sense of convenience that people in the city enjoy. And if your church is not willing to give them the convenience, they'll go to the church next door, you know, and that. So I think it's so those big challenges, expenses, and just the balancing of just that sense of creating a. And here's the thing: it's not just the piece of land or the whatever. It's people want to come. Is their children's church? Is it safe? It's costly to have children's church that is safe,
People
that is
don't
teachers
know
that have all these things. And parents, if their if children's church is not on point, they don't come.
Children's church needs stationery, needs books, curriculum, needs an order, needs a syllabus. You don't just it's not a daycare here in the city. No.
And the people who teach at children's church need to be vetted by the police. Yeah.
Did you know that, Ross?
Yes.
Okay,
they
that
need,
one I didn't know.
Yeah, if you have people that are taking care of kids,
Oh my.
you need to check. They need to be vetted by the
there can
police.
be a history of
yes,
something,
because
yeah.
if something happens, then you're in trouble. You are liable for that. So if if people are taking care of kids, they need to be vetted by the police. And a lot of kids teachers in churches don't do that.
They don't. They don't even know that.
They
They're
don't even
hearing
know
this for the
that.
first time.
Yeah, they need to be vetted by the police. You need to have the clearance, the police clearance, that this person can actually, don't have like a criminal case,
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
They've not molested anyone,
Children,
children. Just it gives parents a sense of security.
Otherwise, you are negligent and liable at the end of the day as the leader.
And all of that is costly. All of that is costly. Here's the thing: you need to be an accountant. You need to be a head of marketing. You need to wear so many hats.
You're basically a CEO.
Yes, basically a CEO. So you are a shepherd and a CEO.
Yes, right.
At the same time.
Yeah.
It's because this thing is both spiritual, but there's an organization part of it. Yeah. And if it's going to grow healthily, it needs healthy systems.
Crazy.
You know? And systems don't need a pastor. They need a CEO.
Yeah.
The congregation does not need a CEO. They need a pastor. But all of these come from the same person, the same man. So, and then people then say, no, in the city. Then they say, but pastor must go and work. The same people. Then they say, pastor must go and work. I'm like, but when do I work? And I need to ensure that on that 2 hours, it takes a whole week to ensure that we are very well prepared for that. So if I go and work, then when do we do that? That means in the evenings when I should be spending time with my family, I need to be doing church stuff. In the weekend now I'm doing sermon. Then when I get divorced, then you say, pastor is divorced. Now you start pointing, but I got divorced because of, you said I must go and work, but you also wanted an excellent church. I'm like, look at all the excellent churches in the country. Most of them, in the world rather, most of them, the pastors are not working because what do you mean I must work? Do you think ministry is a play?
This is already
This
a
is
job.
work. This is already a full-time job. It's actually more, if I use the energy, the effort, the skill, and everything I'm using at church to run a business, I'll be a successful businessman.
This is the other thing I wanted to engage you on, that people say ministry is like easy, it's a get rich quick, easy scheme.
They don't know what they're talking about.
We are in ministry because we are lazy. We don't want to study, we don't want to work, so this one makes money fast.
Let me tell you, my brother, if for the same effort I'm putting, right now in corporate, I'll be making more money than I'm not earning a salary at church. Let's start there.
Sure. First of all.
First of all, I'm not earning a salary there. I need to be a fundraiser. I need to read the word. And they say, no, but your sermons are shallow. Because I'm at work.
Yes.
Yeah, you say I must go to work. There's no time for depth. If you want me to go deep into the word and understand, because the Bible is complex. To really go into the depth of it, you need to kind of you need to spend time with it. And then they say, no, but pastor doesn't visit people in hospitals. But you said I must go and work. Like, which one do you want? Yeah,
What do you want?
What do you want? So there's that, and you are a psychologist, and then you need to plan financially. Like if on Sunday you need to come here and there's aircon, there's coffee, there's sound, there's da. Someone needs to plan for that, finance that, and manage all of that. There needs to be. And if there's a team as the church grows, I mean, now we have a team of about 120 people right now. Who manages 120 people? Who schedules all these things? That thing doesn't happen automatic. It's a lot of work. That's just leaders, yes. That 120 is volunteers and their leaders and everything. Sure. But it's a big team. And ultimately, I'm responsible for all of them. Yes, there's leaders, there's different structures. But someone had to put those structures together. Yes. And I'm like, but then I'm running an organization. I would be operating as a CEO at a bank at this level of thinking. Yes. So if I do that, then what about this? There are instances where the church is doing well and the pastor is working. Yes, but that's the exception. Yeah. It's not the norm. It really is the exception. And I'm talking as a pastor who is working because I have a consulting firm. Sure. But I can tell you, I had to slow down in my consulting firm because my family was taking a beating. The church was taking a beating. The consulting firm was taking a beating. So I was not doing great justice I was not winning in any. So I needed to decide. And now you must understand, when I decide to take it easy on the consulting one, then my family takes a beating financially. So it's an impossible. There's just no right answer. It's an impossible thing. The big thing is, what did God call you to do? Focus on that and just close off the noise. Just ignore. You know, when someone says pastors must go and work, I'm like, until they write Koketso must go and work, I'm ignoring this. On social media, I ignore anything that is not directly pointed. If you have not tagged me, I'm like, they're not talking to me. Otherwise, you will die. No,
don't even try.
I'm like, they're not talking to me. So, Ahmed, the nuances of it. So it's a get quick. I don't know.
It's really a false pretense. We just need it.
You need it if you are going to. And then they compare you to a big church. But look at the church. I'm like, go and ask them how much is costing them to run that thing, and how are they. Because we are relying on donations. We are leading volunteers. So you are leading people who are not getting paid, who are giving you their times voluntary. So it means you cannot say once more on Sunday you must be here. No, you understand. So you need to the way you lead to get commitment out of these people is different to when you're a CEO of a company and you're paying people. You can demand and say on Sunday you must be here. It's a different ballgame.
It's something else. One of my concerns in this ministry, this podcast, that is a ministry, is the church dropout rates in terms of young adults. I heard a stat yesterday that shook me a bit, that in the age group of 24 to 35, right, 50% of those people have decided to no longer associate themselves with Christianity.
Sure.
Or if they are associating themselves with Christianity, it's just Christianity by name, but not really in the true sense. I heard that being presented in something I was watching. Man, what do you think is our problem there? Where we are having I left church but not God kind of statements being thrown around and all of that.
And I think how we responded to that statement partly speaks to why people are leaving church. Because when someone says, I left church but not God, we hailed, insulted them, we demonized them. And for me, that was it was a cry for help. It was there's something in what you are doing that I don't like. And as opposed to saying, okay, where could we be missing it? We attacked back. In that saying, we are never wrong. I think that sometimes is a posture of the church. That how we're doing it is how it must be done.
We are perfect.
We are perfect, and if you can accept how we're doing it, tough. Sometimes we are not good listeners. We're not willing to sit in the tension, not to agree, but just to sit and just say, okay, you left church, not God. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Where does that come from? And you're going to find that it's our method that they are rejecting.
Right.
It's not our mission. They still believe in the mission.
Right.
But our methods, they just they reject those methods because, and it's not a church thing. I think sometimes we think it's a church thing. In general, those people around that age, they reject hierarchical leadership.
Right.
Everywhere, even in corporates,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Even in politics, you see they are not voting because they want flat structures.
That's millennials and Gen Zs.
Yes, millennials and Gen Zs. They just reject this man of the moment thing. I have a green chair, everyone is sitting on a black chair. You must honor me and buy me gifts and all those kind of things. What I say goes.
Sure.
You can't ask me questions. You can't engage with me.
Yeah.
They don't want you have this big protocol now. You can't get to you. No. They want relationship.
Right.
They want relatability.
Right.
They want to sit with you and ask you, Pastor, how did you deal with this? You know, how did you deal with that? And you see churches where pastors are relatable and they're accessible, those churches are growing.
Yes.
Those churches are exploding.
Because it matters.
Because it matters to that age group. So if you are still on some high horse, man of the moment,
Forget it, man.
And that's why we have lost so many. And Rona, we are at the back of it. It happened in Europe first, then in the US. Can we quickly just learn from them?
I see.
Now what they're trying to do, they're trying to break this. I was in London recently, and man, I was at this conference of 5,000 leaders. There was no green room. There was no green room. There was no special room for the speakers and
leaders had to interact.
They had to interact with people,
eating
eat
the
what
same
we're
place
eating, eat everything. Man, that just inspired me.
Awesome.
And young people in the UK are studying to go back to church.
Come on, praise God.
Because the leaders are sitting with them. And I'm
Praise
like,
God.
let's not make the same mistake they made. Because, man, UK use it. The churches there, they're like when it has a lot of people, there's 20 people.
Yeah.
Just people reject the church altogether because they're like, we don't know what you stand for. And just if we hear about Christ and see what you're doing, it's not coming together. Yeah. So then they rejected it. I'm like, can we quickly learn from that
and not go
through the same thing?
Sure, bro.
There was this guy who was a key speaker at that conference. No, there's a guy called Louis Giglio.
Oh man, love him.
I met him on a queue going to buy coffee. He was in the same queue.
He was also going to buy.
He was going to buy his own coffee.
As an international
speaker, Sinesh was there getting her own food. Listen, man, these people were just here. There was no green room.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is how the church in the UK is beginning to, is getting revitalized.
I get you.
Let's learn from that.
I see a lot of that in your culture at Mmuso. I've never seen a tie and a suit at your church from anyone. Maybe a visitor.
Yeah.
I take it that was intentional to have a laid back and an easy kind of environment. But then the question is, how you see those environments like yours are then misunderstood as not having discipline, and character.
Yeah.
But when I hear you preach, I'm like, man, this man is demanding righteousness.
Yeah.
This man is demanding life in the word.
Yeah.
And people say in the city, especially, but I hear you preaching like you're saying, listen, I'm not really bothered if you come next week or not, but this is the truth.
I preach about hell, man. I preach about hell. In the city,
People think you got to massage people in the city.
No. A lot of people actually, they've said that to me. They say, we came here because we saw the jeans and the stuff, and we're like, no, it's nice there. Until we listen to the sermons, and we're like, ooh, okay. All right, slow down. I preach about righteousness. I preach about holiness, man. I preach about a Christocentric gospel.
And you're very unapologetic.
I'm not even going to play games. Sin is sin, and we're not going to tolerate it. The Bible does not. But we're loving. We love people. I think it for me, sometimes we're not even trying to be cool. We're just trying to be ourselves. That's how I am.
Yeah.
I'm always just chilled. I wear jeans, and that's just me.
Yeah.
So, and that's how my wife is.
Sure.
So we were not trying to be, we're just trying to be ourselves. And then like-minded people came through, And so, because you could be wearing a suit and still not be living right.
That's correct.
That's
correct.
Or you could be wearing jeans and still not be living right. It's really not in the clothes.
You can wear church uniform.
You can, you understand. You can wear church uniform, and so I think we place too much emphasis on those things, and just not asking. Is Christ still at the center of the message we preach?
Yeah.
Is Christ still at the center of the songs we sing?
Right.
Is Christ? I was recently searching for Christ-centric songs. They call them vertical songs. What vertical songs are? It's songs that speak about God and not about us.
Yes.
Go and search and find. You'll find very few.
Wow.
They're very few.
Because we've made ourselves the stars.
Yeah, we've made ourselves the stars of scriptures, the center of scriptures. That's even in the songs speak mostly about, we say it's a worship song, but it's talking about us. Open doors for me, breakthrough, heal me.
Chains are broken for me.
For me, everything's me. And you're like, but what is the gospel? Is that the gospel? So is it really gospel music? Maybe we need to have that conversation,
Yes.
But I'm like, you really just, okay, let's talk about the coming of Christ, the birth of Christ, the dying of Christ, the atonement of sin, the placement of righteousness, the gospel. And let's listen to let's remove the music and just read the lyrics and see how many of them speak about that.
Yes.
My brother, you will be disappointed.
Yes.
Some of the best albums that I enjoyed immensely. When I listen now, just read the lyrics, I'm like, man,
they are not vertical.
This is so encouraging to me. But it doesn't. God is. Most of them, they talk about God doing things for me, not who He is.
I was criticized recently because with whatever I do in the media and stuff, I'm called for problems. I'm just going to challenge, to question, without, not in a toxic way, because I've seen that being done. But and I use humor a lot publicly. And I wrote a status to say, if we're to silence the music in the church while you're preaching, and take down your volume as a preacher while you're preaching, and then after preaching, we give the church a transcript of
just read through this.
What you'll be saying. Will it still be considered powerful?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think most of what we have in our churches is hype. And it's not even a black or white, it's hype. It's emotionally stimulating. But what are we saying through our songs? What are we saying in our preachings?
And I think, Fundisi, I'm very loud. Right? And I know that. I love telling stories. I'm very charismatic. So I'm very charismatic. And I know that. So I know that I can captivate an audience easy. So it's easy for me. And I was like, so I was compared to one preacher in the US. They're like, the way you're doing things, you're like this preacher. And it excited me. And I listened to his sermons. I was like, but I don't like that. It's hype. It's nice. It's creative. But I'm not hearing depth. And then I listened to my sermons. I was like, I'm like him. I sound like him.
In expression, in style, maybe.
No, even in my content.
Really?
And I realized that, I actually sound like him.
Oh, my goodness.
There I changed. I was like, no, wait.
Okay.
Then I started reading, man. Then I started reading. I started buying books, systematic theology. And my wife was like, what's happening? I was like, I sound shallow. I don't like it. I don't like my sermons. They're not taking people forward. They're not helping people grow in their knowledge of scripture or knowledge of the God, of the knowledge of God. They are people-centric. They are men-centric. They are not Christ-centric. I'm butchering scripture. I'm making it, it's eisegesis. I'm saying it to say what I wanted to say. it's not, I'm not reading I'm just taking a verse and I'm just
running with it.
I'm like, oh, I don't like my sermons.
Come on.
And I changed that.
Yeah.
And that's as recent as the beginning of this year. We're not talking about something that happened a long time ago. I'm just talking about, if you go and listen to my sermons recently this year, and from last year going back. You'll hear an immense difference, because I met a guy, Pastor Israel Pir.
I was about to mention him actually right now.
Changed my life.
I was about to say that he tells the same story, and he spoke on the podcast about this.
Yeah.
And he also had the same.
Yeah.
And he challenged me so much.
I was like, what am I saying here? What are you? I'm like, that's not even what that scripture is saying, bro.
Yes.
But people were encouraged. People were inspired. But that's why when then challenges come, encouragement and inspiration does not work. They need the Rhema word. They need the life-giving word. They need that thing that will anchor them when they are going through difficulty. But I was saying, we encourage people who are going to hell. So they're going to hell, very encouraged, very motivated. But they are not going to heaven. They're going to hell, and we do that. And so man.
Praise God.
Yeah. So me and him, Pastor Israel, when we talk, we used to be consultants. we were motivational speakers. We were consultants, and it's a new journey for me.
Beautiful.
And I'm really just getting it started, and I'm realizing I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes, but I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm reading, I'm like now I'm wrestling with the Sermon on the Mount. I'm like, Jesus, you are jumping from one topic to another. It's difficult to understand what is the essence of what you're saying, what you're preaching here, because there's just so many things. So now I'm studying that in depth to say, what does Jesus say? He says, ask and it shall be given to you, knock, it shall be, the door shall be open. I mean, Jesus, what were you saying here? Were you saying we must just ask for things, we'll get them? We must just knock at doors and we will receive, the door will be open. We must just seek and we'll find stuff. What were you really saying? And who were you saying it to? What was the end goal? So that's where I'm at. If it doesn't make sense to me, I'm not going to preach about it until I get this is what you're saying.
That's good.
And someone might be watching this as, how? But you're a pastor, you should be knowing these things. I'm like, well, if that's your expectation, I'm going to disappoint you.
Yeah. We are all growing.
I'm a student of the Word of God, and I'm going to be until I die. Yeah.
You recently declared that you are writing a book.
Yeah.
So excited for it.
Yeah.
Church Reimagined.
Yeah.
About that concept.
Yes.
Now you guys are getting exclusive.
Getting an content that is not out there.
from notwithstanding what we discussed already.
Yes.
What does some of that entail? What are you going to bring forth in that book? Church Reimagined.
So there's I kind of like contrast a few concepts.
Sure.
For example, a Christ-centered gospel against a man-centered gospel.
Right.
I contrast a people-centered church as opposed a people-driven church as opposed to a program-driven church.
All right.
A man of God-centered church as opposed to a God-centered church. Sure. A congregation versus a community. So I contrast those things, an inward-looking church and outward-looking church. What does that look like? You contrast these concepts just to kind of like, where are we? In the opening, kind of like section of the book, I write about the story of David. And I say the story of David is such an inspiring story, and when we read it, we see ourselves, slaying our giants. It is a source of inspiration. You look at the giants that you're facing, and you're like, man, I can take those giants down. I can just take my 5 stones and a sling. You leave there inspired.
Come on.
But it makes you the hero of the story, and you are not. You are not the hero of the story. The giants of this world will slay you. Christ is the hero of our story. If anything, we are those soldiers who stood there for 40 days and 40 nights, scared
Actually, that is
of
us.
this giant, until the hero,
Until Christ
who is
shows up.
Christ, shows up into the story, and he kills the giant for us, and then we can claim the victory and say, we won. You know, that's a Christ-centric way of viewing the story. Then your reliance and your strength depends on the hero showing up.
Bro, you're killing all my sermons. Come on, man.
You know, so those are some of the things I just, you know, kind of address.
Yeah.
You know, I listen to Paul. Everywhere he writes, he says, I'm a servant, I'm a born servant. And I'm like, are we still servants? You know, when you talk about a man of God-centered church and a God-centered church,
sure.
you know, are we still servant? You know, when you say we are a royal priesthood, when you look at what is a royal, what is a priest?
Yep.
A priest is someone who lives a life of self-denial.
Yes, right.
You know, of service.
Right.
But when we think of royal priesthood, it's almost as if we see ourselves as the royalty who needs to be served and everything. I'm like, but the royal guard in London, they are serving the king. And if we say we are royal priesthood, we say we're here at the pleasure of the king. What does the king want?
Yes.
And we will do that. So it's just those nuanced things that I'm just like, how do we imagine that kind of church? What does the church look like? A church where a leader leads away from themselves.
Sure.
You know, they kind of like give people. I mean, Christ himself, when he dies, he says, guys, you will do greater things than what I've done. Most of us, when there's an opportunity for us to leave or we're about to leave a place, we're like, I'll see how they'll function without me. They will never survive without me. But Jesus was saying, when I'm not here, you must actually do better.
Wow.
That's the kind of leadership that we need, where people do better when you are not there. You have empowered them so much that they can do better when you are not there. But we, on the other hand, sometimes we want, when our absence must be, everything must fall apart because we're not there, so that they can call us back and say, and come begging and say, please come. We need you. We need you. And it's that it's a church that is dialogue driven and not monologue driven. You know, where we're not just saying these powerful statements on Sunday and people just consume them and go, and there's no. But Mfundis, I don't understand what you meant by this. Why would you say this? You know, just that dialogue and that conversation. Yeah,
that's beautiful. We're looking forward to that. You said January 2024?
Yeah, February. Yeah. I'm a February baby, so
awesome
February.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Please come back and we need to chop that up when
the book is here.
As we close, man, what's your heart for South Africa? What's your heart for Africa as a whole? What are you observing? And how do you see your part? And just what are some of the solutions that we can start thinking about for nation building and for just building our continent? Yeah.
I sat with a guy now, when I was in London, he was speaking. So now he's speaking about how the church in the West is breaking apart. Now this will be the US and Europe, and how the church in the East is really on a rise. And this now would be your China, India, Singapore, and all those kind of places. So that it's an East-West kind of conversation. And I raised the question and I said, so I see the church in the West is crumbling because of all kinds of things. The church in the East is relatively young.
True.
But there's a church that has been around for a long time that I feel like no one is. And then I was not done. Then he started smiling. And I knew he knew what I was talking about. And he said, it's arrogance. We are not willing as the Church of the West to learn from the African church. And he says in his prayer time, God showed him that the next church that will lead the world into the next season is an African church.
Praise God.
Is an African church. that says to me we need to start thinking globally. We need to start thinking globally in how we do ministry as African leaders.
That's correct.
And we're already seeing Nigerians, well, West African countries, West African leaders doing that, infiltrating these spaces in Europe, in the US, because I think the depth of spirituality in Africa is what the world is missing. It needs that devotion. That sense of devotion
no
to
one
God
can pray like an African.
and the things of God. You are devoted to God and the things of God. We have an opportunity. So I'm saying, start thinking globally, because everyone else is doing it. In the music space, they're doing it. In the luxury space, everywhere. Benna Boy last week, he filled up a stadium. In America, he was the first African to fill up a space in America. You'll get there. He's not your competitor. I don't like their podcast, but they just reached 1 million people, and I'm like, that podcast is sorry to say, but it's trash. But it's impactful, right?
Yeah, we have to think.
We need to think at that level. We can't blame him for doing what he's doing. And listen to what they say. Then they say, God did it. I'm like,
where?
No, man. You can't give God credit for that. Come on. But I mean, in the absence of us doing big things, that's what will happen.
And I'm seeing also Amapiano, the genre of music.
You understand?
The way it's penetrating the West. And those are signs.
Those are signs that the world is open. And that's why when we named the church Mmuso Church, it was intentional. I was like, we're taking this brand international, but I don't want it to be an English name when it gets.
You could have said Kingdom Church.
Yes, you understand. Yeah, I could have said Kingdom Church, but I'm like, I don't want it to be an English name when it gets to London, Singapore, or New York. I want it to be an African name. It must be Mmuso, the kingdom of God.
Amazing stuff, man. No, I appreciate that, man. I'm so challenged.
Yeah.
So encouraged. And I know our audience is as well. We're looking forward
I hope so. I hope I didn't offend anyone.
Well, offense is our culture. We're looking forward to the books.
Yes.
And we're not even spoken about the music side of things.
Yeah, and we're releasing this coming Sunday.
Come on.
Tomorrow, no, we're releasing tomorrow.
Tomorrow is Friday, right?
Friday,
Album?
Yeah, an EP. Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, so.
Sure. And that's like going to be the third offering, right?
It'll be the third, yes. It'll be the third.
Yes. We're excited for that. Looking forward to that. Check it out. Mmuso Worship, right? Mmuso Music.
Mmuso Worship. So it's Mmuso, it's Mmuso Worship.
Mmuso Worship. Check it out on all digital stores.
Yeah.
It's out already.
Yes, By the time this airs, it'll be out.
Check it out, please. The music is beautiful. Check the other 2 albums as well.
Yeah.
It's amazing music. So I love personal music.
Yes.
And that's what I found in your music. I love personal.
Amen. Thank you
so much. We are so excited about what you're building and doing. Everyone who says, I'm in Pretoria, I'm like, have you been to Musa Church?
Yeah.
That's they know. They're like, you need to go check out Musa Church.
I'll pay a commission
Come on,
for that.
Come on. Tell them, where is the church services and stuff like that.
So on all social media platforms, Mmuso Church.
Yes.
Website at musochurch.org.za, and then Pretoria in Hatfield, 1250 Pretoria Street. Yes, 1250 Pretoria Street in Hatfield. We have an 8:30 service and a 10:30 service. Otherwise be on the lookout on our social media. We have great things coming. We have Jesus to the City version 2 coming now on the 10th of December. We're taking it bigger and better. We're collaborating with some great leaders and some leaders in the US as well. So there's some big things that are coming.
We'll be there, man. This podcast will be there. We're going to partner with you as well.
Yes, come through.
We're going to partner with you in the media stuff.
That'll be great.
Thank you so much, man of God. I appreciate this.
Thank you, sir.
And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do the right thing. Click on it. Click on the notification bell. Follow Mmuso Church on all social media platforms as well. And Pastor Koketso Molaolwe is also there on social media. Check him out as well. You're going to be blessed. After every time after I attend my church, let's go to Glory on Sundays,
Yeah.
I attend his church. Standard. Standard.
Thank you, man.
Whether
Thank you.
he's
I didn't pay him to say that.
No. Whether he's preaching or not, I'm there.
Yeah.
So I know that you're going to be blessed. Thank you so much, guys. God bless you. See you on the next one.